Good morning and welcome to another edition of Our Town here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. Couple of guests on the program this morning. One, Gary Boden, the city manager of Waukon. He will be by for his monthly visit a little later on in the program. But our first guest this morning is Karen McLean. She is with the Decorah Municipal Utility Board, and she will talk about a couple of opportunities the MEU board will have next week in Decorah. That conversation starts our Town program next, right here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. With us this morning is Karen McLean. She is a member of the MEU task force in Decorah. We are going to be discussing a couple of public meetings that will be coming up here in the not too distant future. Karen, first of all, before we start and discuss the meetings that will be coming up here in the near future, tell us about the MEU task force and what its charge is.
The Decorah MEU task force was established in December 2020 as part of the sustainability plan for Decorah that was adopted in 2020. We have assigned to us by the City Council 5 goals. The first is to conduct a series of learning opportunities for the task force and the public about the advantages and disadvantages of forming a Decorah MEU. The second thing is to convene meetings with key stakeholders, large customers, senior citizens, downtown businesses, Freeport residents, etc., to identify and address their concerns. The third thing is to respond to an invitation by the Iowa Utilities Board to bring specific issues regarding a municipalization process before the board through the board's complaint procedure in accordance with Iowa Code. The fourth thing is to commission an MEU feasibility study. And the fifth and final thing, and this is, once we accomplish this, I think the work of the task force will be completed, is to provide a recommendation to the City Council about whether and when to hold a second referendum about establishing an MEU.
And I think one of the important points to kind of differentiate in my mind, there is your group, the Municipal Electric Utility Task Force, and there is the Sustainability Commission. I believe perhaps some members of the community kind of think the two groups are the same. They are different, correct?
That is correct. Yes, the Sustainability Commission is much broader than just municipal electrical utility. They're looking at land use and all sorts of things, whereas as part of the sustainability plan, this is just one segment of it, energy.
And looking at the steps that you described in the first question that I asked you, what step is your group on right now?
Well, the 5 things I talked about, I didn't mean to represent that those were steps taken in order. A lot of these things are going on simultaneously, but what I'm here to talk about specifically is conducting a series of learning opportunities for the task force and the public.
And a couple of those are coming up in the not too distant future, from what I understand. Tell us about what your group will be putting on here in the near future.
Our ultimate plan is to do an educational series of 6 events. And within that series, we want to bring to the public several managers of Iowa MEUs. And the reason we want to do more than one MEU is, as one of our task force members has said, when you've seen one MEU, you've seen one MEU. They're very, very different. They may be part of a large municipalization involving internet provider, cable TV, and other things. They may or may not own their own transmission lines. So the MEUs vary quite a bit, but our goal is to have 4 MEUs ultimately present to the community, as well as My Energy, which is a rural electrical co-op. They function differently than an MEU. And we have been or will be inviting our investor-owned utility that can currently provides us with power, Alliant Energy. And so the format is each of the sessions will be 1 hour long. It will be held in the city council chamber, so the public is invited to attend in person. We will also be conducting the session via Zoom. So if people want to tune in from their homes, they're certainly able to do that and submit questions. We have asked the same series of questions to all of the presenters. So they'll be talking about where did they get their power from? How is it generated? Do they own their own transmission lines? What are their rates? What have the challenges been? What are their successes? What are their plans for the future?
And when will these be taking place?
The first 2 are scheduled, as you said, in the very near future. On May 23rd, from 5:15 to 6:15, we will be hearing from the general manager of Algona Municipal Utilities, which is John Bilston. So again, that's May 23rd, 5:15 to 6:15. A few weeks later, on June 9th, same time, 5:15 to 6:15, we will be having the general manager of Osage Municipal Utilities, Stacy Walsh, presenting.
And is there any sign up required, anything like that? Or is it a case of just showing up and having the opportunity to receive this information?
It is just a matter of showing up. Both the newspaper and Decorah News later this week will be publishing the Zoom link for people that want to attend virtually. But otherwise, if you're attending in person, it's just a matter of showing up.
Anything else you want to pass on about these upcoming events this morning? Anything else you want to pass on about the work of your MEU commission, or anything we're missing this morning?
Well, I guess I would like you to know that we have been meeting with key stakeholders, primarily the large customers in the community, like Brunings, Deco, Collins Aeronautics, our large Stanley, the hospital, Luther, just to hear their comments and concerns. We've met with the fire department, because if there is a fire, the first thing they need to know is about the electrical lines. The electrical provider and the fire department have to have a very close working relationship in a community. We've also talked to the wastewater treatment people and the water department in Decorah. So we are continuing to meet with groups in the community, and really, we're just there to listen. We usually ask them several questions, and we just want to hear their opinions. Another part of the task force has been working on one of our goals, which was to respond to a recent invitation by the Iowa Utilities Board. As part of that, the task force has asked Alliant for some information, because one of the things I don't think any of us wants to see are sort of 2 competing feasibility studies with different data that people argue about. I think that would be very divisive for the community. So it would be helpful to have a common data set. And I think the task force is working with the Iowa Utilities Board in terms of getting that. We have not even come close to providing a recommendation to the city council. I think the process is taking longer than we had originally anticipated, but we're taking our time, we're educating ourselves, and we're wanting to hear from a lot of people in the community before we ever think about whether we should recommend a referendum or not.
Karen, we appreciate you taking some time this morning to update you on the work, or update our listeners, I should say, on the work of the MEU task force. We appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sure this will not be our final conversation as you continue to study this issue.
Thank you so much, Darren, for allowing me this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Karen McLean from the Municipal Electric Utility Board, commissioned by the Decorah City Council. Time now for our monthly check-in with the city manager in Waukon, Gary Boden, as we talk all things going on in that community. And Gary, since we talked to you last, you had your future planning meeting the last Monday night in April. Give us a synopsis of what went on that end of things, and what the council, city officials are going to take from that meeting moving forward, and maybe what's the next step in all those discussions.
Well, one thing that we did is that we reviewed the financial status of the city to date and talked about the financial management that we have going forward in the form of what we've done for borrowing, for capital improvements, and making preparation for other expenditures that we see coming up. One of the things that we emphasized was a need to do a referendum. We actually have to do a renewal referendum every 10 years for the sales tax, and that sales tax, we've proffered that we need to expand its utilization as opposed to just having it for streets, water, and sewer. We also need to put aside some money for municipal facilities, and put aside some money that could be utilized for public safety equipment, particularly fire and ambulance vehicles.
And moving forward, is there another meeting planned regarding these issues, or is it one of those things that you're just going to keep the information kind of in the back of your mind and it'll come out when necessary?
Well, some of the things that we'll probably do in October, the idea may very well be that we do this twice a year. In October, we'll probably talk about some of the planning efforts that we've suggested at this past meeting. For instance, the idea of doing a park and recreation strategic plan. Also to take a look at some of our longer term capital needs, particularly as it relates to street reconstruction. We know that we have money available, and part of the planning for doing these kinds of capital improvements is not just to say, well, this is what we would like to have. To really implement that, we need to have a financial plan for which we can actually pay for these things.
You feel like having meetings like this, even in the couple of weeks since this meeting took place, that it sends a message that you want to be upfront and transparent and kind of devise a plan publicly on where the city wants to go here within the next 5-10 years, or maybe even beyond that?
Well, absolutely. We'd like to be transparent, and that's what part of the intention of this meeting was about. We were very happy with the response between those people who watched us live online and those who were actually at the council chambers in City Hall. We had about 65 people, which is a big number for us. And I think the word is getting out that the city is not just doing things, we're being serious about doing these things. And at least it was an opportunity to have city staff, and for that matter, Val Renke from ACDT, to talk about how we are going about doing it. So we're letting some credence to our planning, and for that matter, we intend to continue on with that kind of effort.
Couple of matters at your city council meeting, which took place last night, was related to RAGBRAI. You guys are going to be a pass-through community on July 30th of this year. What was the reason, like for the RAGBRAI ordinance? What was the reason that had to go before the council?
Well, we have to make some special arrangements as far as ordinance is concerned for the purpose of allowing RAGBRAI to come through. Some special issues related to parking and having particular opportunities for vendors and things of that sort during the event. As you say, we're a pass-through community, and realistically, we're only going to see certain amounts of activity occurring here, not anywhere near like we had the last time, or for that matter, like they're going to have in Postville, because Postville is kind of the midway stop and kind of the halfway stop. We expect that we won't have a whole lot going on here comparatively, but we will be prepared for it. We are also asking that anybody who wants to do food vending, contact City Hall. We are going to issue those permits. It's $100 for local folks in Alameda County and $250 for those out of town if they want to establish vendors. It'll be around the banquet center, generally speaking. So that's where our kind of layover spot will be. But realize that this is the last stop before they dip the tires in Lansing. And in fact, the trip from Waukon to Lansing is actually pretty flat until you get to the end of it, and there's a big downhill decline in the route. Although realistically, this route on this last day has got almost 3,000 feet of ascent, and that's because from West Union to here, they're going down the valley in the Turkey River and up to Postville, and down the valley of the Yellow River and up to Waukon. So I think we're going to see some tired bicyclists, not just because of this day, but for the entire week.
And when it comes to any road closures or street closures that will be happening that day, I know you discussed that last night. What part of town is going to be shut down, and how long will it be shut down that day?
Well, we're going to make some final determinations on how we reroute state highway traffic. But generally speaking, the route coming up Rossville Road up to Main Street and then make a right-hand turn to go to the east along Elon Road is what's going to happen. We expect that we'll have some barricades put up. The police department's making arrangements to have maybe about 6 hours of part-time help to man those barricades. But in all reality, we are probably looking to close things down until maybe about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
The DOT, or I shouldn't say DOT, but the RAGBRAI group is actually saying that they should be closing things down in Waukon itself at 2:30. So I would say that by the time we have rush hour in Waukon, that we should be okay.
And by the time you got 3 people waiting for a turn left, like we do in our part of the woods, that's known as rush hour, I suppose, on our end of things. I know you took care of some financing last night, $2.5 million in general obligation corporate purpose bonds. I know this has been a topic of discussion. You guys have laid this out for quite some time. What will these bonds be put towards that the council approved last night?
Well, understand that this bonding is all paid for through tax increment financing, so it doesn't have any kind of direct impact upon the taxpayers. It's just looking at an opportunity to take what has been developed during the existence of the TIF district, and then simultaneously looking at future growth and development as a result of this investment. We have borrowed $2.5 million. Predominantly, that money will be spent on the Platson subdivision, which includes not just the commercial development on the eastern edge of that subdivision along Rossville Road, but on the western edge of that subdivision that fronts 2nd Street Southwest. Water, sewer, stormwater management, and particularly the street, is estimated at this point in time at about $1.9 million. The extra $600,000 will be utilized for any cost overruns, which we don't anticipate to have any significance, if at all. But also will make some improvements to the streets to the north of this subdivision, particularly along the West Street corridor. We're utilizing TIF because we recognize not only does the subdivision create a circumstance of development, but we need to respond to the area adjacent to it as far as its impact, the development's impact upon the existing neighborhood.
And I know you had a couple of public hearings regarding disposition in real property. Explain the process when the city wants to give up something like that, what you need to go through by the book.
We need to notify the public whether we're leasing property or whether we're selling property of the city's intent. So we had the public hearings last night, and it is recognized that now we're selling property. We're selling an airport hangar space, or airport hangar, and we also are selling what has been commonly known as the C-Mart property for a residential development. Actually, Daryl Hansmeyer is moving a house next to the St. John's Lutheran over to a block away over to the C-Mart property to establish the building for a new residence in that location. But those are state requirements that we have to meet. It gives an opportunity for anybody else to make a bid on these properties if they so desire. And we went through the notice process 2 weeks earlier before we had the public hearing and sale last night.
What else do Waukon residents need to know this month, Gary?
Well, not this month, but coming up, council made approvals last night to allow for the payment of water and sewer bills through the use of credit cards. It's not implemented, won't be implemented immediately. It'll be occurring sometime this summer. But if people want to pay by credit card and they want to call in, they can do so with a $1.25 surcharge on the bill, and that's through a company that we've contracted with. Simultaneously, if somebody wants to do it online without even going through City Hall, it can be done through the same service, if you will, at a 3 3/4% service charge on the bill itself. That will be coming up and implemented. I hope maybe July, but we'll see. It's a service that we're providing for the residents. If people don't want to pay those service charges, they can still have their water bill deducted through ACH, through your checking account directly, and no charge will be there. Or for that matter, they can come in and pay, as is happening now as far as utilizing check or cash. And those charges, those extra charges or service charges would not be on those types of payments.
Gary, we appreciate the update as always. Always good to know what's going on in the city of Waukon, and we appreciate your time each and every month. Look forward to our conversation coming up in the month of June.
Okay, thanks, Darren.
Gary Boden, City Manager of Waukon. Our thanks to our guest here on the program this morning, Karen McLean from the Decorah Municipal Electric Utility Board, and Waukon City Manager Gary Boden. Don't forget, each and every week we put these shows up on YouTube. Then you can watch these shows when you can. We know you always can't be near a streaming device or near the radio at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, but we want to bring you the interesting content that we put out there for you at the time of your convenience. So basically, go to YouTube, go 519 Our Town program, and you can find it there. And we also put them up on each and every one of our Facebook pages for the LA Communications radio stations. You can find it there as well. Don't forget Our Town on YouTube each and every week. Our thanks to our guest, our thanks to our sponsor, and our thanks to you for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.